Tuesday, our English teacher took us to the Fort Canning Park, also known as the Forbidden Hill. Our teacher explained to us that the Fort Canning Park was originally constructed as Armstrong Barracks and Hospital. The British handed over control of the fort to the Singapore military in 1963, and today the fort has been a venue of staging outdoor events. Then we saw Lighthouse. It is used to navigate merchants and traders in and out of Singapore waters. Before we reached the Spice Garden, we saw Heritage Tree. It also known as the Year Pot Tree. This tree belongs to the pea family. At the Spice Garden, we saw trees and plants such as the lemongrass and the laksa leaf. Can be used for flavoring, coloring, and preserving food. It also can be used for Chinese medicine too. At the Capitol, as we continued the journey, we saw a Capitolus. It has a dome-shaped roof designed for people to rest on the hill. Before we reached the battle box, we saw Celiport. It is a small hidden door. In the past, it was used to lead people in or out of the fort undetected. Lastly, we reached the battle box. In the past, it was a bunker that stopped army defenses. When I heard the word battle box, I thought it was a building shaped like one, but never knew it was a sweet souvenir shop. Our field trip ended at 11:30 a.m. Although I felt tired at the end of the field trip, I am still glad to go on a field trip with my friends. I hope that I can go on a field trip again soon.
Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about what I saw and learned in Fort Canning Park field trip with my teacher, Sister Hilda, and fellow classmates. The first place we went to is the Lighthouse. It is a tall, pool-like building that is meant to tell the ships if there's any rocks ahead of them so that they will not get any collisions with the rocks. The second place we went to is a garden. Its name is called the Spice Garden. It is a place not because it is for spying, but it's to grow spices and herbs. There's two examples that I found out. The first one is the Cola nitida cola tree. Its fruit is a bit like mangoes, but in green color. The second one I found out is the Muraya koeniji curry bush. Its fruit is a bit like grapes. After that, we went to a bunker that is called the Battle Box. This is a few pictures of what it's like in the inside and the outside. It is used in the Second World War as a commanding base. We actually didn't have a chance to go in because we have to pay money to go in. After that, we didn't really went to the Celiport, but it's actually a place that leads in and out of a fort undetected. If there's any enemies coming to attack Singapore, the warriors will go in from one of the doors into the other undetected. It's like a shortcut. We also saw a 9-pound cannon. I found out that there's 3 ways why it's short. The first reason is to mention the time. At 5 a.m., 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. respectively. The second reason I found out is that it is shot when there's a fire in the town. And moreover, it is also used to defend Singapore. After that, it is the end of our fun field trip. And we hope that we'll have another field trip again. Thank you for listening to my speech presentation.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chester, and I went on a field trip to Fort Canning Park recently. I'm here to present some of the interesting spots that I enjoyed. Did you know that Fort Canning Park used to be called the Forbidden Hill? Our first stop is the Lighthouse. It was used as a beacon to direct ships entering the harbour until 14 December 1958, when it was replaced by a new lighthouse erected on top of Fullerton Building. If you'd like to know more about the history of the lighthouse, there is an information board on the sides of the lighthouse. Here's a little bit of trivia. Do you know that the light from the lighthouse was visible for 17 seconds, followed by an eclipse of 3 seconds? Our next stop is the Spice Garden. It was the first experimental and botanical garden in Singapore. Some spices there are wild pepper, torch ginger, kaffir lime, nutmeg and cloves. Along the way, there is a flagstaff. It was used as a communication device for maritime activities. Many types of shipping info were communicated by different kinds of flags. Nearby the flagstaff is the time ball. It was used to give the public a signal of the correct time. It was raised at 12:55 p.m. and dropped at 1 p.m. daily so that people could set their clocks to a common time. We also saw a 9-pound cannon. It was called a 9-pound cannon because it can fire 9-pound cannonballs. But it was never used and meant only as decorations in Fort Canning, as it has become obsolete even before Fort Canning was built. Our last stop was the Sally Port. It is a small door that leads in and out of the fort. It was meant to help defenders enter or exit the fort undetected and unnoticed. There are many more things in Fort Canning Park, like the Battle Box, heritage trees, Raffles House, Raffles Terrace, and the cupolas. You should all go and experience the interesting tour down Singapore's history yourself. Please bring mosquito repellent.
Good morning, Auntie Hilda and friends. Finally, I am ready and excited to share with you my thoughts about our field trip to Fort Canning Park. Before I start, I would like a show of hands as to who would like our dear Auntie Hilda to bring us on more field trips instead of just cooping ourselves up in class. Moving on to our field trip, the first place we visited was the Lighthouse. As it was situated at the top of the hill, we had to do quite a bit of climbing in order to reach it. The Lighthouse is a very tall and imposing structure with a proud history. This is because before World War II, it was used to guide the merchants and traders moving in and out of Singapore. During the war, the operators hid essential parts needed to use the lighthouse at the risk of their lives. This was to prevent the Japanese army from utilizing the lighthouse. After the war, the lighthouse was rebuilt. Today, it is used as a heritage building to educate future generations of its legacy and contribution towards Singapore's maritime history. Next on the list was the Archaeological Excavation site. Many pieces of pottery that had been excavated from the site were on display as artifacts. As you can see in this picture, there are 4 layers of different soil colors showing different eras. The first layer from the top, light pink bricks contain items from modern Singapore. Second bright red layer contains items from 19th century British colonial period. Third layer is dark brown layer has very few artifacts from the 16th to 18th century. This was the period which Singapore seemed to have been deserted. It is believed that the Portuguese attacks kept the people away from settling here. Fourth layer, this is called the Temasek layer, which yielded many artifacts of Singapore's early history dating back to the 13th century and before. These fascinating items include gold jewelry, ancient pottery from the Yuan dynasty period in China, Indian relic glass beads, and Chinese and Chinese porcelain wares, all dating back to the 1300s. Besides these, there were more than 100 copper coins from as far back as the 1100s. The excavation corrected a mistaken view that Singapore was just a fishing village prior to the arrival of the British in 1819. It was in fact a bustling trading post of the Far East, where many Chinese, Indians and Malays came to trade at its shores and lived peacefully side by side. From the excavation site, we next went to the spice garden, where we found spices, herbs and fruits growing. The butterfly pea, tamarind, ginger and lemongrass are some of the plants you can see, touch and smell at the spice garden. There were the laksa leaf, scarlet bananas, curry bushes, asam trees, chili bushes and many more. The spice garden is a main source of food for local fauna, including squirrels, butterflies and dragonflies. Unknown to many, the spice garden is actually a small replica of the original gardens Sir Stamford Raffles established in 1822 as the first experimental and botanical garden in Singapore. At that time, spices were as valuable as gold among the English, the Dutch, Spanish and Portuguese. There was a fight for control over the sources and routes to the spice islands of Southeast Asia and India. In response to this feverish demand, the garden at Fort Canning was planted mainly with nutmeg, clove and other economic plants. Today, it is visited by apprentice chefs led by a professional to familiarize themselves with the variety of spices, such as the group we saw during our field trip. Moving from the spice garden to the battle box, we passed by a huge heritage tree. The tree, called an airport tree, belongs to the pea family and it is native to Central America. Airport trees are commonly planted in Singapore for their large, shady umbrella-like shaped crown. According to the sign next to this tree we saw, it had been uprooted during a storm in March 2014. Since it was a very beautiful specimen, different orchids were planted on its branches. Most of it was left undisturbed so that the tree can still be enjoyed for the beauty by future posterity. We passed by a 9-pound cannon. It might come as a surprise that it was never used in combat. Instead, it was used to tell the time and sound alarms. It would be fired at 5 a.m., 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. When there was a fire, it will also be fired to tell the residents in the vicinity that there was a fire near them. Did you know that Singapore once had kings ruling over it? Passing by a wooden structure, we discovered a shrine. It was built for Iskandar Shah, also known as Paramaswara, the fifth and last king of Singapore. According to the Malay annals, he was the great-great-grandson of Sangla Utama, the founder of the Kingdom of Singapore. Pursued by his enemies, Iskandar Shah fled to Malacca, where he founded a new settlement and became its first ruler. As he had died in Malacca, it is believed that he could not have been buried at Fort Canning. This shrine was likely built as a memorial of him. Here is Fort Canning Centre, where we took a much-needed toilet and aircon break from the sweltering heat. The place had a cafe along with a museum that was closed. Finally, we reached the battle box. I found some pictures of its underground network of tunnels, waxworks and operation rooms as you can see here. It was a pity we did not get to explore this part of Fort Canning Hill. So how about a show of hands as to who would like Auntie Hilda to bring us back to the battle box to visit the battle box underground tunnels? Just in case Auntie Hilda can't take us there, you can have a look at these photos. So basically this is the entrance.
Excellent.
And then this is the staircase up. And then the next picture shows the 9-meter deep staircase. It's quite big. And then this. And this is the bunker. This is only one bunker. I don't know what to call it, but it's quite dirty. So basically, this is the hallways where the openings are the doors and you get to the bunkers. And so basically, this is the telegraph room where they send messages to the other parts of Singapore to tell them that last time that there was enemies attacking. So basically, this I'm sure you all remember we went to the fort's gate, where there was a narrow and steep staircase to the top. The building was constructed like that to make the building more stable. In 1859, a decision was made to convert the hill into a fort. It was completed in 1861 and included a strong wall that surrounded the highest point of the hill. A moat also ran around the wall. Today, the moat has completely disappeared together with most of the fort wall. Only the fort gate and a fragment of the wall remain today. On the way back to the Spice Garden, we passed by a sally port. A sally port is for soldiers to escape in and out of the fort without being noticed. As you can imagine, if the plants were allowed to overgrow, it would be hard to spot this entrance. There were at least 3 sally ports at Fort Canning, but only one remains. Sadly, the other 2, located at the northwest side of the hill and another near Hill Street, can no longer be found. In conclusion, I am very happy that we went on this field trip to Fort Canning. In future, I earnestly hope we can go on more outdoor field trips instead of staying in class. Thank you.